We know that the moon's gravitational pull is able to lift the entire ocean and push it higher on one shore than the other. So the idea that the extraneous gravitational pull from the moon or any other heavenly body is so insignificant is laughable to me, because do you know how much an ocean weighs? It's tremendous. And the moon is able to pick it up and move it because oceans are fluid. And today's topic of discussion is going to be gravity and how it affects atmospheric fluidity in the form of weather patterns like tornadoes and hurricanes. And it's my firm belief, and I think I've got the science to back it up, that hurricanes and tornadoes are caused by gravitational pull of extraneous planets, sun and moon as well. I plan on proving that today. But first, I want to talk very quickly about the current scientific understanding of how these storms are created. Temperature. I agree with this 100%. Warm fronts meeting cold fronts are going to leave us with an area of agitation in between them where tornadoes are going to be very likely. So I'm not arguing that conventional science is wrong. I'm just saying it's not complete. I believe, and I think my research will show, that gravity plays an instrumental effect on the formation of things like tornadoes and hurricanes. The first thing to know about gravitational pull from another body, a heavenly body, is that when you have two spherical shapes like the Earth and the Moon, there's going to be a point on each of those where it's closest to the other. We call that the zenith point. In other words, if you were standing on the Earth at the exact zenith to the moon would be exactly 90 degrees above your head. You would look directly up, and there would be the moon. So when we talk about gravity, we're looking for that zenith point because supposedly, and I think common sense would tell you, that is where the gravitational pull from that planet is going to be the strongest. It's going to be right there at the zenith. Of course, we don't understand gravity as well as we should or could. Um, that may be wrong. I don't know. But that's the basis of my study and my understanding. Now, I've termed this thing as cone of gravitational influence, the yellow spot you see on your screen right there. In other words, that area, or perhaps a much larger area than that, uh, is the area where the moon's gravitational pull is going to be the strongest. Now we know the moon's gravitational pull can reach across an entire ocean, so it's not going to be a small little dot like this. But I don't know mathematically how large it will be. But just so we're on the same page as understanding, that area affected by the moon's gravity, the greatest, is going to be called the cone of gravitational influence. Another consideration that will help you understand the study I'm going to show you in just a few minutes is the fact that more than one planet cone of influence can join with other planets' cone of influence in one area. For instance, here we have Mars and the Moon. And you see they're separated. Their cones of influence are not in the same area. But the one thing we know about the rotating Earth is that our juxtaposition to other planets is always changing. So as Mars, zenith moves across the surface of the Earth and the moon's zenith moves across the surface of the Earth, these two zeniths can actually combine when they reach the same area. And of course, that would mean an increase in the gravitational pull. So with that, you can see how easy it is to understand that if we have 9 other planets and the Sun all in a general area of a given zenith area, cone of influence, that the gravitational pull is going to be tremendously higher at certain times. And that is going to be pushing the atmosphere, the air, just like it pushes water, just like the moon pushes the water. And so with that comes the greater potential for agitation in the atmosphere, like tornadoes and hurricanes. And so now we get to the meat and potatoes of my study. And what you see on your screen right now is a sort of animation, if you will, of planets as their cones of influence seemingly travel across the surface of the Earth. Now, this is based on uh, data, which is on a secondary tab, which has the latitude and longitude for the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune. So it has all the planets and the Sun and the Moon, and they change every hour. So when we run this animation, what you're going to see is all the planets' zones of gravity moving across the Earth, and they change every hour. So I'll go ahead and start the animation now. Now what you're seeing is a majority of almost all the planets, the Sun and the Moon, are kind of clumped together right around the equator. And so that means that the power of all their combined gravitational forces are acting cohesively together in concert on the atmosphere of the Earth. Okay, so I've paused the video so that you can get a feel for the amount of gravity that's coming from those planets that are inside the yellow circle. Now you see 5 there, but there's actually 7, because Mercury, Mars, and Venus are all in the exact same spot. Now this isn't like this every day of the year or every day of the decade. This specifically refers to the date of May the 22nd, 2011, when a series of deadly, terrible tornadoes raged across the Midwest of the United States. And what I'm pointing out to you now is the gravitational pull from those combined vortices, those combined cones of gravitational influence, are pulling the atmosphere or pushing the atmosphere to such a degree that it is causing warm fronts and cold fronts to move rapidly, more rapidly. And the faster these cold fronts and warm fronts approach each other, the more dangerous the storm is going to be. And one might argue the case, well, the cones of influence don't extend into the red area where the tornadoes happened. And you'd be correct, as is shown on this particular diagram, which is not to scale. Those dots that represent the cones of influence for the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, etc., are just markers to show where the zenith is at. The Sun obviously is going to be a much greater influence, gravitational influence, than any of the other planets. And second to that, Jupiter is the next greatest gravitational influence that we have on our planet and our atmosphere. So you have to take these things into account. Uh, I would say, just as a rough estimate, guess, that the sun should be probably 5 or 6 times the size that it's shown on this graph. Jupiter would be much larger too, as well as the moon, simply because of its close proximity. In any event, I want to thank you for stopping by. I hope that this sparked some interest in you if you are a young scientist looking for a way to define and possibly predict terrible storms in the future. I think this might be a good way for you to do that. That's why I spent my time making this video, so that you can run with it. And God bless. Best of luck to you, and I hope that someday we will have a method, scientific method, of predicting when these hurricanes and tornadoes are going to happen based on the amount of gravitational pull that we know that is where all the planets are going to be. We should be able to determine when and where these terrible storms are going to happen. Thank you again for stopping by. My name is John. If you have any questions, please let me know below.